Thanksgiving was canceled because we can't afford it. I worked late that night. The next day, my cousin posted a story, a full feast, decorations, and turkey for 20. Everyone was there except me. I said nothing until Mom texted, "Can you cover $2,800 for the mortgage?" I replied, "Ask your guests," then blocked them all. By morning, 41 missed calls and a single message, "Please, don't do this to us." I always believed being the responsible one carried a certain weight, a quiet dignity. Growing up as the eldest daughter in a family perpetually teetering on the precipice of financial disaster, I internalized that my very existence was to be the safety net. My father vanished when I was 12, leaving my mother to navigate 2 jobs just to keep the lights flickering. My younger brother, Tyler, enjoyed baseball and homecoming dances. My sister, Jenna, had her art supplies and coveted dance classes. Me? By 14, I clutched a work permit and a drawer full of bills with my name on payment plans I was far too young to understand. The pattern began subtly. $20 for groceries here, $50 there when the water bill threatened disconnection. By the time I graduated high school, I'd already funded half of Mom's car repair with money painstakingly saved from my grocery store job. College, a dream for many, wasn't even a question for me. Instead, I enrolled in community college part-time, working full-time as a medical receptionist, then relentlessly clawed my way to office manager at a dermatology clinic. It took 6 long years to earn my associate degree. No one celebrated. No one seemed to notice. But they certainly noticed when I landed the clinic job. Suddenly, I wasn't just Sarah, the oldest kid who occasionally helped out. I became Sarah, the one with a real salary and benefits, the one who could finally afford to provide. Mom's texts, once sporadic, became a constant hum. Tyler needed textbooks for State University. Jenna's car broke down. The roof leaked. The furnace died. Every single month, there was a fresh crisis. And with each one, I felt the suffocating weight of obligation crush me a little more. I told myself I wasn't a pushover. I tried to set boundaries. But when your mother calls, voice trembling with tears, an eviction notice clutched in her hand, what choice do you have? Could I truly let her become homeless? So I paid, and paid, and paid. 3 years ago, I finally secured my own apartment. Nothing extravagant, just a modest 1-bedroom, 40 minutes from Mom's house. Far enough to escape the immediate gravitational pull of every minor emergency, yet close enough to avoid accusations of abandoning them entirely. I furnished it slowly, deliberately, piece by piece from discount stores and Facebook Marketplace. That $75 couch, lovingly scoured from a stranger's garage, felt like a throne. It was mine, my space, my sanctuary from the relentless demands. Yet, the calls never stopped. The texts multiplied. Mom had an uncanny knack for making every request sound like a looming catastrophe. Aunt Linda, Mom's sister, moved back to town 2 years ago after her divorce. Suddenly, our family gatherings morphed into elaborate productions where everyone expected my contributions, but no one ever acknowledged them. I'd arrive with an expensive bottle of wine or a meticulously prepared dish that consumed hours, while Tyler strolled in empty-handed and Jenna tossed a bag of gas station chips onto the table. "Sarah, you're so good to us," Mom would coo, pressing a kiss to my cheek. Then, almost immediately, she'd ask if I could spot her $200 until her next paycheck. That paycheck never seemed to materialize, and my money never found its way back to my wallet. Thanksgiving had always been a complicated affair in our family, but this year felt different. Early November, Mom called, her voice heavy with a theatrical sadness. "Sweetie, I hate to say this, but we're going to have to cancel Thanksgiving this year." I was mid-bite into a sad desk salad when the bomb dropped. "Cancel it? What do you mean?" "We just can't afford it, Sarah. Money's been so tight. The mortgage went up again, and with everything else. I just can't justify spending $300 or $400 on a meal. Maybe we can do something small, just immediate family, but I'm thinking we might just skip it altogether." I'm so embarrassed. The guilt, that familiar, unwelcome guest, slammed into me. Here I was, sitting in my comfortable office with a steady paycheck, while Mom ostensibly struggled. What if I helped with some of the costs? I heard myself offer, my voice surprisingly weak. I could bring the turkey and maybe no, honey. I can't ask you to do that. You've done so much already. We'll just have a quiet day. Maybe order Chinese food or something. Something in her tone, a barely perceptible shift, should have served as a warning. But I was too consumed by the gnawing guilt of having a savings account while my mother supposedly contemplated a solitary Thanksgiving over lukewarm lo mein. Are you sure? I really don't mind helping. I'm sure, sweetheart. We'll make do. That's what we always do, right? We're survivors. She laughed, a brittle, hollow sound. Besides, you probably want a quiet holiday yourself. You work so hard. The conversation concluded with me feeling like an utterly deplorable daughter for daring to possess financial stability while my family allegedly suffered. I spent the next 2 weeks mentally bracing for a low-key Thanksgiving. A part of me, I confess, felt a strange relief. No elaborate production, no forced cheerfulness, no drunken arguments about politics. Perhaps I'd volunteer at a soup kitchen, doing some actual good. Work spiraled into a maelstrom just before Thanksgiving week. Dr. Patterson, my boss, scheduled extra appointments for patients seeking pre-holiday cosmetic procedures, thrusting me into a chaotic dance of coordinating schedules, managing inventory orders, and processing insurance claims that made my brain ache. The Wednesday before Thanksgiving, I toiled until almost 9, untangling a scheduling disaster that threatened to double-book appointments for 2 solid weeks. I drove home, utterly exhausted, grabbed Thai food because cooking felt insurmountable, and collapsed onto my couch, watching some mindless show about tiny house renovations. My phone buzzed with friends' holiday plans, but I ignored them. Sleep felt infinitely more important than socializing. Thanksgiving morning dawned gray and cold. I woke around 10, brewed coffee, and resolved to do something productive with my day off. I deep-cleaned my apartment, ran 3 loads of laundry, and began researching volunteer opportunities for the afternoon. Around noon, Mom texted, "Happy Thanksgiving, sweetie. Love you so much. Hope you're having a peaceful day." I replied, "Love you too. Thinking about volunteering later. Hope you're having a nice quiet day." Her response was immediate. "That's so sweet of you. You have such a good heart. Talk soon." Something felt profoundly off about the exchange, but I couldn't pinpoint it. Perhaps it was the excessive enthusiasm in her text, or maybe I was just tired and paranoid. I pushed the feeling aside and spent the afternoon alphabetizing my bookshelf, a task I'd procrastinated on for months. Friday morning, I indulged in a late wake up, still catching up on sleep. Scrolling through Instagram while sipping my coffee, I saw a parade of holiday spreads and saccharine captions about family. Then it hit me. My cousin Madison's story. The first image was a dining room table, absolutely groaning under the weight of food. An enormous, golden turkey commanded the center, flanked by dishes I knew intimately. Mom's famous sweet potato casserole with pecan topping, Aunt Linda's green bean creation, homemade rolls that looked professionally crafted. 3 distinct pies, a glazed ham, and stuffing that likely cost $50 in ingredients alone. The table itself boasted a lavish fall centerpiece featuring real gourds and intricate floral arrangements. Candles flickered in expensive-looking holders. The china wasn't the everyday set. These were the good plates, inherited from Grandma, reserved only for special occasions. I stared at the screen, my coffee growing cold in my hand. My brain simply couldn't process what I was seeing. This was impossible. Mom had said Thanksgiving was canceled. She said they couldn't afford it. I swiped to the next image. It was a group photo. Everyone was there. And I mean everyone. Mom, radiant in a new sweater I'd never seen, beamed at the head of the table. Tyler and his girlfriend, Rachel, wine glasses in hand, laughed freely. Jenna sat beside Aunt Linda, who had her arm around Uncle Frank, her ex-husband, a shocking sight in itself, given their supposed animosity. My cousin Brandon and his wife Kelly, Madison and her boyfriend Trevor, Mom's best friend Patricia and her husband, even the neighbors from 3 houses down whom I barely knew. I counted faces, 20 people, perhaps more lingering in the background. The caption: so blessed to celebrate with family and friends. Mom's house never disappoints. Hashtag Thanksgiving 2024, hashtag family, hashtag grateful, hashtag feast mode. My hands began to tremble. I set my coffee mug down before it shattered. The next few photos offered different angles of the feast: close-ups of the turkey being carved, someone's overflowing plate, a dessert table that rivaled a magazine spread, pumpkin, apple, and chocolate cream pies, what looked like a homemade cake, and a bowl of whipped cream adorned with piped autumn leaves. This wasn't a "we can't afford Thanksgiving" meal. This was a "we spent $1,500 minimum" production. The decorations alone likely cost $200. The alcohol visible in the background, another couple hundred. This was deliberate. This was planned. This took days of preparation. And they lied to me. No, scratch that. Mom lied to me. Mom looked me in the eye, metaphorically speaking, and told me they were too poor for Thanksgiving while she was orchestrating this elaborate dinner for 20 people. I sat on my couch for a long time, just staring at those photos. A whirlwind of emotions cycled through me. Confusion first. There had to be an explanation, right? Maybe someone else paid for everything. Maybe it was a last-minute surprise. Maybe Mom won the lottery. But the longer I looked, the angrier I became. This wasn't a surprise thrown together overnight. You don't coordinate a meal for 20 people in 12 hours. You don't decorate like that without careful planning. The china had to be washed. The leaves on that centerpiece were real, meaning someone had visited a craft store or farmer's market. Those pies were homemade, and baking 3 pies is an all-day endeavor. I started scrolling back through Madison's previous Instagram posts, searching for clues I'd missed. There it was, from 6 days before Thanksgiving, a photo of her and Mom at the grocery store, their cart overflowing with supplies. The caption: prep mode activated, accompanied by a slew of food emojis. 6 days ago, while Mom was still spinning her tale of financial hardship, while I was still buying her sad story about ordering Chinese food on Thanksgiving, my chest tightened. I kept digging through social media. Jenna had posted a story 4 days before the holiday, proudly displaying new fall decorations with the caption, "Can't wait for Thursday." Aunt Linda had shared a recipe for cranberry sauce with homemade orange zest, commenting, "Making this for the big day." Tyler's girlfriend had posted a poll asking, "What's your favorite Thanksgiving side?" 3 days prior. The evidence was everywhere, damning and undeniable. They had all known. Every single one of them had been planning and preparing and shopping and cooking. Every single one of them had watched me be excluded and said nothing. Not one person thought to reach out. Not one person questioned why I wasn't included in the group texts that must have been flying around about who was bringing what dish. I opened Facebook, a platform I rarely visited anymore, and checked Mom's page. There were posts stretching back 2 weeks about Thanksgiving preparations. Comments from relatives I barely knew asking about arrival times. Patricia commenting, "Can't wait. I'll bring the wine." Aunt Linda saying, "I've got the green beans covered." Uncle Frank, the ex-husband supposedly ostracized, had commented, "Looking forward to it," with a thumbs-up emoji. This wasn't some last-minute miracle. This was premeditated, calculated. They had made a conscious choice to lie to my face, exclude me completely, and then celebrate without a second thought about how I might feel. Then I remembered something. About 3 weeks before Thanksgiving, I'd been at Mom's house, helping her replace a broken door handle. She'd received a phone call and stepped into another room, but I'd caught snippets of her conversation. "No, she won't. I already told her. Trust me, it's fine. She'll never know." At the time, I dismissed it as gossip or a surprise birthday gift. Now, those words took on a sinister, chilling new meaning. They planned this. They deliberately crafted a lie to keep me away. But why? What did they gain from excluding me? Was it purely about the money? Did they know I'd question the expense? Did they simply want to enjoy themselves without the responsible daughter there to remind them of reality? Or was it something far worse? Something more profoundly hurtful? Maybe they just didn't want me there at all. Perhaps I had become so inextricably linked with obligations and bills and seriousness that they preferred a party without me raining on their parade with my mere presence. The thought made me physically nauseous. I ran to my bathroom and dry-heaved over the toilet, my body rejecting what my mind was processing. When I finally stood up, my reflection in the mirror was haunted. Dark circles under my eyes, hair a tangled mess. I looked like someone who had just discovered their entire family had been playing a cruel role, pretending to love her while merely tolerating her usefulness. This was planned, deliberately planned, and I was deliberately excluded. I considered texting Mom, confronting her, demanding an explanation. But something held me back. A cold, quiet calculation spread through my chest, gradually displacing the hurt. Words from my therapist echoed in my head, things she'd been telling me for 2 years. You can't set boundaries with people who don't respect them. Sometimes the only boundary that works is distance. I'd been enabling this. All of it. Every time I paid for something, every time I covered an expense, every time I allowed guilt to override my common sense, I was unwittingly teaching them that I was an ATM, not a daughter, not a sister, not a human being with my own needs and limitations. I decided to wait. I didn't know what exactly I was waiting for, but instinct, a primal flicker of self-preservation, told me to be patient. The call came Saturday afternoon. I was at the grocery store, deliberating between the artisanal pasta sauce and the budget-friendly brand, when my phone rang. Mom's smiling face lit up the screen. I let it go to voicemail. She called again immediately. Voicemail again. Then a text. Sarah, honey, can you give me a call when you get a chance? Kind of urgent. I finished my shopping, drove home, put everything away, and made myself a sandwich before I even glanced at my phone again. There were 3 more missed calls and 2 more texts. Sarah, please call me. Sarah, I really need to talk to you. My finger hovered over the call button. Then I saw another text come through. Can you cover $2,800 for the mortgage? I'm in a really tight spot. I'll pay you back. I promise. $2,800 for the mortgage. The mortgage she supposedly couldn't afford, which was the manufactured reason Thanksgiving was canceled. The mortgage that was apparently in crisis, while she hosted a lavish feast for 20 people that easily cost $1,500 or more. Everything crystallized in that precise moment. Every excuse, every manipulation, every guilt trip, every time I'd sacrifice something I wanted because family comes first, while they treated me like a walking checkbook. Every boundary I'd tried to set that they trampled. Every time I'd been excluded from actual family moments, but included when they needed money. I opened the text thread. My fingers flew across the keyboard before I could second-guess myself. Ask your guests. 3 dots appeared immediately, signaling she was typing. I didn't wait to see her reply. I went to my contacts and began blocking. Mom, Tyler, Jenna, Aunt Linda, Uncle Frank, Madison, Brandon. Every single person who had been in those Instagram photos, smiling and laughing at a Thanksgiving dinner I wasn't invited to because they were supposedly too poor to afford it. My phone began ringing instantly from numbers I hadn't yet blocked, but they couldn't get through. I blocked Patricia. I blocked the cousins I barely spoke to. I blocked everyone in my family except my elderly grandmother, who lived in a nursing home 3 states away and had nothing to do with this corrosive mess. Then I did something I'd never dared before. I opened my banking app and changed all my security information. New password, new security questions. I updated my address to my work address instead of my home. I enabled 2-factor authentication. I wasn't taking any chances that someone had my information and would try something desperate. The adrenaline coursed through me, a cold, clear stream. I went through my apartment, collecting every spare key I'd ever given out. There was one for Mom's house, one for Aunt Linda's. I placed them in an envelope with no return address and dropped it into the outgoing mail slot in my building's lobby. I changed my emergency contacts at work from Mom to my best friend Michelle, who I'd known since high school and who'd been telling me for years that my family was using me. As I sat back down on my couch, another realization hit me like a freight train. I pulled up my bank statements on my phone and started scrolling through the past 6 months of transactions. Venmo payments to Mom, $400 in June for emergency car repair, $350 in July for unexpected medical bills, $275 in August for back-to-school supplies for Jenna, even though Jenna was 23 and worked full-time at a salon. September, $500 for an overdue electric bill. October, $600 for a property tax surprise. I added it up. In 6 months alone, I had given my family $2,125. And that didn't even count the groceries I'd bought during visits, the tank of gas I'd filled for Tyler's car, the birthday presents I'd purchased, the dinner tabs I'd picked up. If I included everything, I'd probably spent close to $4,000 on them in half a year. $4,000. While I'd been eating budget meals and skipping the gym membership I craved because it felt frivolous. While I'd been driving a car with a weird noise I couldn't afford to get checked out. While I'd been postponing buying new work clothes because the ones I had were good enough. I pulled up my credit card statements next. There was the $150 I'd spent on Mom's birthday dinner at the restaurant she specifically wanted to try. The $200 worth of cleaning supplies and tools I'd bought when I helped them deep clean the basement last spring. The $75 loan to Tyler that he'd desperately needed for textbooks, which I later saw him use to buy video games during a Steam sale he proudly posted about. The pattern was so glaringly clear now that I couldn't believe I'd missed it. Every month, multiple hits to my bank account. All in the name of family. All packaged as emergencies or necessities or just helping out because that's what families do. But families also invited you to Thanksgiving dinner. Families didn't lie about being too poor for a holiday and then throw an extravagant feast. Families didn't treat you like a human ATM with no feelings or needs of your own. I thought about calling my grandmother, the one person I'd left unblocked. But what would I even say? Hey, Grandma, your daughter is a manipulative liar and your grandchildren are complicit in treating me like garbage. She was 87, grappling with her own health issues. She didn't need this dumped in her lap. Instead, I opened my laptop and started a document. I titled it Financial Gifts to Family and began listing every single transaction I could recall for the past 3 years. The money I'd given, the things I'd paid for, the bills I'd covered, the emergencies I'd solved. By the time I finished, it was after midnight and the total made me want to vomit again. $38,000. In 3 years, I had given my family $38,000. That averaged out to over $12,000 per year, over $1,000 every single month. The 6 months I had just calculated were actually lighter than usual because I'd been trying to save for a new laptop. The first 2 years had been worse. Much worse. There was the $3,500 I'd given Mom when she claimed she was about to lose the house. The $2,200 for Tyler's emergency dental work. The $1,800 for Jenna's car insurance after her accident. The $4,000 loan to Aunt Linda that was never repaid. Thousands more in smaller increments that added up to a devastating total. I could have bought a car with that money. I could have taken a dream vacation to Europe. I could have had a down payment saved for a house. Instead, I'd funded their lifestyle while they excluded me from family gatherings and lied to my face about their financial situation. By Sunday evening, the stark reality of what I'd done began to settle in. My hands shook as I made a simple dinner. I kept picking up my phone, forgetting I'd blocked everyone. The silence felt strangely loud. Usually, my phone buzzed constantly with family group chats and individual texts asking for favors, money, or advice that truly meant, "Can you fix this for me?" I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Mom's beaming face in that Instagram photo, presiding over her perfect Thanksgiving with her perfect guests, while I'd spent the holiday alone because she had lied to me. The hurt kept mingling with anger until I couldn't distinguish between the two anymore. Sunday morning, I woke early, gritty-eyed, and emotionally raw. I remembered I'd kept one avenue of communication open, my work email, which my family had for emergencies. Sure enough, there were 17 emails, all from Mom's address. The subject lines escalated. "Sarah, please." "I'm sorry. Let me explain. This is serious, urgent." I didn't open any of them. Instead, I set up a filter to automatically delete anything from her address. Around 10 in the morning, Someone knocked on my door. My stomach dropped. I peered through the peephole and saw Tyler standing there, looking disheveled. He knocked again, harder. Sarah, I know you're in there. Your car is in the parking lot. Please open up. Mom's having a breakdown. I stood frozen on my side of the door, barely breathing. He knocked for 5 more minutes, calling my name, before finally giving up. I watched through the peephole as he pulled out his phone, typed something, then walked back to his car. He sat there for another 20 minutes, probably hoping I'd leave so he could intercept me. Eventually, he drove away. My phone, which I'd left on the counter, had lit up multiple times. I walked over and stared at it. 41 missed calls from unknown numbers. They'd figured out I blocked them and were calling from other phones, friends' phones, probably. Maybe those pay-by-the-minute burner phones you can buy at convenience stores. Then I saw a text from an unknown number. Just one message, sent 10 minutes ago. Please don't do this to us. That was it. 6 words that somehow encapsulated years of manipulation. Not, I'm sorry. Not, let me explain. Not even, we need to talk. Just a plea that cast me as the villain in their story. I was the one doing something to them. I was the bad guy. The shaking in my hands intensified. I sat down on my couch, my sanctuary, bought with my own money, in my apartment, rented with my own credit, and I started crying. Not sad crying. Angry crying. The kind that erupts from years of being used and finally, irrevocably, having enough. My phone rang from the unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again. Voicemail. A text appeared. Sarah, this is Patricia. Your mom is beside herself. Whatever happened, I'm sure we can work it out. She loves you so much. Please call her. Patricia, Mom's best friend, the one who'd been at the Thanksgiving dinner, eating food bought with lies. I didn't respond. The next text came from a different unknown number. This is Aunt Linda. I don't know what's going on, but your mother is in crisis. You need to be the bigger person here. Family is forever. The bigger person. I'd been the bigger person my entire life. I'd been so big, I'd disappeared into the role of family ATM. Another number. Sarah, it's Tyler. Whatever you think happened, you're overreacting. Mom made a mistake, okay? But you can't just abandon your family over one dinner. That's cold. Call me back. One dinner. As if that dinner was the problem. As if years of financial abuse could be reduced to a single holiday meal. I turned my phone off. Powered it down completely. The silence in my apartment felt deafening. I spent the rest of Sunday in a strange fog, alternating between the fierce conviction that I'd done the right thing and the terrifying thought that I'd just blown up my entire family. Monday morning, I dragged myself to work. Dr. Patterson took one look at me and asked if I was okay. I lied and said I was fighting a cold. She told me to take some vitamin C and let me hide in my office doing paperwork. Around 11, our receptionist buzzed my office line. Sarah, there's someone here to see you. Says she's your mother. My blood went cold. Tell her I'm not available. She says it's a family emergency. Tell her to leave or I'll call security. There was a pause. I could hear Mom's voice in the background, not the words, just the tone. Pleading. Desperate. She's saying she'll wait. Then call security. I don't want to see her. 10 minutes later, Dr. Patterson knocked on my door. Sarah, your mother just caused quite a scene in the lobby. Security escorted her out, but she was crying and saying something about you abandoning your family. Is everything all right? Do you need to take the rest of the day off? Humiliation burned through me. My professional life, the one thing I had built that was completely mine, had just been invaded. I'm handling a personal matter. I'm so sorry she came here. It won't happen again. Dr. Patterson studied me with genuine concern. If you need time off or resources, please let me know. We have an employee assistance program that includes counseling sessions. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. After she left, I locked my office door and cried silently into my hands for 5 minutes. Then I washed my face in my private bathroom, fixed my makeup, and went back to work. Because that's what I did. I kept going. That evening, I turned my phone back on. 67 missed calls, 43 text messages. I didn't read any of them. Instead, I blocked every new number that had contacted me. Then I called my cell phone provider and requested a number change, citing harassment. The customer service rep said it would be processed within 24 hours and they'd text me when it was complete. I said that was fine. I sent my new number to exactly 5 people: my grandmother, my best friend Michelle, 2 other close friends from college, and Dr. Patterson. Everyone else could figure out their own problems. Tuesday morning, a letter was taped to my apartment door. Hand-delivered, not mailed. Mom's familiar handwriting covered 3 pages, front and back. I didn't read it. I tore it into confetti and tossed it into my apartment complex's dumpster. Wednesday, Tyler's girlfriend, Rachel, showed up at my work. She was crying, which struck me as performative, given I'd met her exactly twice. "Sarah, please." Tyler's so upset. "Your mom's not eating. Can you please just talk to them? Whatever happened at Thanksgiving?" I interrupted, my voice flat. "Tell me what you know." She blinked, confused. I don't know exactly. Something about you being upset that you weren't invited, but it was a last-minute thing. I think your mom's friend offered to pay for everything." "Really? Which friend?" I'm not sure. Patricia, maybe." "Patricia? Patricia who was at the dinner? Patricia who had been struggling financially since her husband's medical bills? That Patricia suddenly had $1,000 to throw around?" Rachel's face went pale. Tyler just said there was a misunderstanding." "There's no misunderstanding," I stated, my voice calm but laced with steel. "Your boyfriend's family lied to me about canceling Thanksgiving because they were too poor to afford it. Then they threw an elaborate dinner for 20 people and posted about it all over social media. Then his mother asked me for $2,800 for her mortgage the very next day. Does that sound like a misunderstanding to you?" She backed away from me as if I'd slapped her. "I didn't know all that. I'm sorry. I should go." After she left, I realized I wasn't even angry anymore. I felt empty, hollowed out, but also, strangely, free. The emails continued at my work address until I finally opened one, just to see what they were saying. It was from Mom, dated 3 days after I cut contact. "Sarah, I don't understand what I did wrong. Yes, we had Thanksgiving dinner. Patricia and her husband Robert wanted to contribute after you got a bonus at work, and Aunt Linda helped with costs, and things just came together at the last minute. I didn't think you'd want to come after you said you might. Volunteer. I was trying not to burden you since you're always so stressed about money. The mortgage is a separate issue that came up after Thanksgiving. The payment increased and I'm behind. I've always paid you back, haven't I? You're my daughter. How can you abandon me like this? What will people think? You're being selfish and cruel. If your father could see you now, he'd be ashamed." That last line was designed to wound, and it did. But it also clarified everything. This wasn't about the money. This wasn't even about the lie. This was about control. As long as they needed me, I had to stay. I had to be available. I had to be the solution to every problem. My own needs, my own life, my own peace. None of that mattered compared to their comfort. I deleted the email and set up a filter to send anything from her address straight to trash. Thanksgiving happened 4 weeks ago now. I spent the actual holiday working late and eating Thai food alone. But 2 weekends ago, I had my own Thanksgiving celebration. I invited Michelle and my 2 college friends over. We made a small turkey, mashed potatoes, 1 pie, and we ate it while watching terrible movies and laughing until we cried. It cost me maybe $80 total. Nobody asked me for money. Nobody guilt-tripped me. Nobody made me feel like my only value was my wallet. I haven't spoken to my family since. I don't know if I ever will. Some days I feel a lingering pang of guilt. Most days I feel overwhelmingly relieved. My bank account has more money in it than it's had in years. I'm sleeping better. The constant, gnawing anxiety that used to sit in my chest like a heavy stone has slowly begun to dissolve. 2 weeks ago, I received a letter from a lawyer representing my mother. She was threatening to sue me for financial abandonment of a dependent parent, some fabricated legal theory. I took it to a consultation with my own attorney. He actually laughed when he read it. There's no such cause of action in this state. Your mother isn't your dependent. You're not her guardian. She has no case whatsoever. This is pure intimidation. He drafted a cease and desist letter that same day. No more contact unless it's through legal counsel. No more showing up at my work. No more harassment. We sent it via certified mail, ensuring proof of delivery. A part of me still wonders if I overreacted. If I should have given them a chance to explain. If I'm the villain in this story after all. But then I remember that photo on Instagram. Mom's smiling face at the head of a table, surrounded by 20 people. None of whom thought to question why I wasn't there. None of whom apparently knew or cared that I'd been lied to. None of whom saw anything wrong with that picture. They didn't exclude me by accident. They excluded me with purpose. And then they had the audacity to ask me for rent money. I'm done being the family ATM. I'm done setting myself on fire to keep other people warm. I'm done apologizing for having boundaries. If that makes me the villain, then maybe villains have been right all along. My phone hasn't rung in days. My apartment feels deeply peaceful. I'm attending therapy twice a week to work through the residual guilt and the very real grief, because losing your family, even when they're toxic, still hurts. But I'm also planning things I've never been able to plan before. A real vacation, not just a weekend trip. Maybe graduate school. Maybe a down payment for a house someday, bought with money I don't have to hide from people who claimed they needed it more. I'm learning what it feels like to be selfish. Turns out, taking care of yourself isn't selfish at all. It's survival. And I'm finally letting myself survive, instead of just existing to serve other people's needs. The missed calls stopped after I changed my number. The letters stopped after the cease and desist. The emails stopped after I blocked every avenue of communication. The silence should feel lonely, but instead, it feels like possibility. Maybe someday I'll reconcile with them. Maybe someday they'll truly understand what they did and genuinely apologize. Maybe someday I'll be ready to forgive, though I'll never forget. But that's not today. Today, I'm just a woman who finally chose herself. And honestly, that feels like the best decision I've ever made. The mortgage payment is apparently figured out because I haven't heard anything about foreclosure, which means they found someone else to manipulate, or they actually handled their own financial crisis for once. Either way, it's not my problem anymore. I saw Madison posted new Instagram stories last week. Holiday decorating. The caption mentioned family drama, but staying positive. I didn't look at the details. I just kept scrolling. Their narrative doesn't include me anymore, and mine doesn't include them. Sometimes, late at night, I still pick up my phone out of habit, expecting messages that will never come. The phantom weight of obligation still presses on my chest occasionally, but it gets lighter every day. The guilt gets quieter. The anger has mostly faded into something calmer, something akin to acceptance. I bought myself new dishes last week. Nothing fancy, just plates and bowls that match and make me happy. They're mine. Nobody can guilt me about them or ask to borrow them or accidentally break them. I ate dinner off them last night, alone in my apartment, and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Contentment. Just plain, simple contentment. No crisis, no emergency, no desperate phone calls. Just me, my dinner, my couch, my life. And honestly, that's worth more than any family Thanksgiving could ever offer.